What's up, podcast world? Welcome back to The Battle Belongs. Today, special guest named Coleton Furlow. First time being on here.
Thank you.
That was really stupid, but we're gonna roll with it anyway.
Your intro get dumber and dumber.
We got GK Young, 2016 Coastal Carolina baseball player with us today. Well, 2014 to 16, right? Was the but everybody remembers the 2016 season because that was the year Coastal Carolina took home the College World Series. Small town college, just out of nowhere, you guys blew up. And so tell me just like real quick, like what was that experience like for you to bring home something like that to this city?
Still crazy. Still to this day, something that I think back to, like after we won for months, I would go on my phone and like, did we really do that? As a town of, we had 10,000 students at the time. That's unheard of a school that size to do what we did.
Right.
I just attested to the good Lord. I mean, you don't do what we did. You don't go through number 1 Florida, Arizona number 2. I mean, Miami was in there.
Yeah.
You don't run through those teams with how small we are without the grace of God. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just an unbelievable experience. And for me, mostly because I'm from here. So, I feel bad for some of my teammates too that aren't from here, but like after we won, I live here. So I still got to enjoy a lot of the stuff after winning it because I live here and they're not from here. But it was so cool to be somebody local to be on the team when we did it. So
absolutely. So like, tell me about yourself though, as far as like GK, what makes GK, and kind of share like your testimony, like how because you just gave testimony to Christ. And so I want to hear like where that started for you.
Yeah, faith's always been a big part of my life. When I was born, my faith started there. I mean, obviously I don't remember being born, but just from what what I've been told about my life and my birth. My mom went into labor with me for 12 hours. Cord got wrapped around my neck. Lost circulation, and my mom's a little old thing. My mom's like 4 foot something.
Wow.
And I was almost a 10-pound baby. So for them to get me out, the cord was wrapped around my neck, so I had to make an emergency something. And they chicken winged me, broke my right arm. I come out basically dead, flatlined. They fought to get me back. Told my parents I'd probably be brain dead and I wouldn't have the use of my right arm. And so, throughout my life, I've thought back to God giving me a second chance.
Wow.
And a big thing for me is I started putting this on my bracelets because it's something I've always thought about. But my purpose and the reason I do things is because they can't, is what I've wrote down. And I think to people who weren't as fortunate as I am, I get a little emotional about it because I am very thankful for the trials and everything I've been through in my life, but for the opportunity that I got, to do what I did, especially playing baseball,
Absolutely.
And I ain't the smartest person, but I got a brain.
Yeah.
I can use it. I got a right arm that works, so you got to give glory to God for that.
Man, that's awesome. And you have like you may not even think about your influence, like the masses of kids, young athletes that are looking up to you, and so to be able to not only testify to the good Lord, like when you get the chance, but like you have no idea the impact that those things are making.
Yeah.
And I think it goes to show like you staying local has such an impact too. I want to ask. Actually, I want to zone over to you because that 2016 team, plays a huge part in your story of why you're here.
Well, I wouldn't say huge. Don't give them too much credit. A little bit. Thought I wore the Coastal jersey. Thought it was appropriate for today. But I had no idea like Coastal existed. We've been come down here to Myrtle Beach since I was 1 for vacation, and we still didn't know there was a university here or anything. So during that season, we started like hearing things about Coastal Carolina, this Myrtle Beach area team, Conway team, making moves in the tournament. So we started watching it, and then we watched the national championship, and we're like, oh, that's the Myrtle Beach area. So my grandparents ended up getting a condo down here in North Myrtle, and we were like, well, let's just go see the campus. And I was like, wow, this place is beautiful. And I was in high school at that time. Then the next year, so 2017, we came down because West Virginia was playing against Coastal in like one of those round robin tournaments that they had.
Yeah, you always came. They always
Yeah,
came
yeah.
down because I mean it's probably snow on the ground.
Yes,
at the time.
yes.
So yeah.
We have to migrate south for the first 2 months. So we came down to watch West Virginia, and I gotta say, West Virginia walloped Coastal and won their first game
You weren't on
after
that
the
team, though.
championship.
because
No.
the last time they came, I hit a walk-off home run
Oh,
against them.
yeah.
So
So, but it was that day I was like, I want to tour this campus. And at that point, I was like dead set on going to WVU and everything. Grew up West Virginia fan. We all know this. And I just fell in love with the campus. And for some reason, I just saw like a brochure that said intelligence, national security as a major. And I always liked the FBI type stuff. So I toured it and learned about that degree and just felt like God was calling me down here after that. But I would have never known about Coastal probably unless the national
awesome.
championship team.
That's cool that you said. Like, I remember after we won too. You know, we flew back because the night before was supposed to be the national championship game, and it got rained out. So we played the next day at like 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. And so as soon as we got done, we got back on the airplane and we flew back. And when we got back, the next day they had the parade. Well, people drove from Omaha, like a bunch of people, all the way through the night to make it to the parade. And they were telling us like, yeah, we had to come see this place, man. And you got people from the town of Omaha driving. It was like 24 hours just to come to the parade. Wow. It was the coolest thing, man. Omaha like adopted us while we were there. The whole town. It was the first day when Mom and Daddy got there. They were like trying to buy Coastal stuff with Omaha stuff on it. They were sold out the first day. They didn't get stuff back in, and like till thank goodness we kept winning. It was day 4 or 5 before they got new merchandise in. That was teal and black. So that was cool to be a part of that. And you know the town kind of adopts the underdog.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was pretty
cool. I
cool.
felt like they were like America's team at that point, the underdog Cinderella story type thing. But
did you ever feel the pressure when it came to that? Like
crazily, no.
Really?
And I talked to some of my teammates. I mean, man, you're having so much fun at the time. I'll tell you where you feel your pressure is in the regional. Like I feel like to me, getting out of the regional was harder than Omaha was, you know? There's so much pressure on that, trying to get out of that. And then once we got out of that and got out of LSU, it was just you playing on borrowed money. At that point, you're just there to have a good time. And the funny thing is when we got there, you know, Florida and all them teams weren't paying us no attention because we had a dinner to open up the night. And it's funny, little old Coastal walking around, everybody don't know who we are, and we just don't care. We just having a good time. And Florida's big leaguing us. They ain't really paying us no attention, and it was fun. We whooped on them the first day, so I was so glad we beat them.
I just think it's funny, like most colleges get put on the map because they're football team, but Coastal was put on the map because of baseball.
I've always loved that.
I agree
so
cool.
with you 100%.
I mean, like football's growing now, but the lasting impact that y'all had on the baseball program because they're constantly ranked now.
Yeah, it seems like we're always in top 25 now.
Yes.
And Coach Snow, he's took over this year doing a great job. I got to play for him 1 year. He came back the year we actually won.
Wow.
So, you know, and I went to school to play for Gary Gilmore. But I love Kevin Snow, and I'm glad he got to take over after Coach Gilmore retired. Nobody better could have gotten the job. So
absolutely. What do you think?
Hold on. The one thing I do remember about this season or that season was that monkey. What is the monkey about? Do you remember that?
Yeah. I remember the monkey clear as day. We were in Georgia Tech, and we had a chance to host at that point. We were having a really good year, and we were hot. And so we go to Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech was ranked nationally, so I can't remember. We needed to at least take 2 out of 3 at Georgia Tech, and we go in there and we get stomped. I mean, they beat us to death for 3 days. And so that kind of blew our chances of hosting a regional. Well, and we had been on a big winning streak. I think we had won like 14 games in a row. And we went to a gas station, and Bobby Holmes and a couple of other guys were like, we need something to, you know, get us going back again. So Bobby found that monkey in a truck stop gas station, and so it was a rally monkey. Rafiki.
Oh my gosh!
Did you ever see it?
Rafiki.
I've definitely seen it. I didn't know.
It's in the Hall of Fame at the school. I think they got it in a glass thing.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I just remember it in the dugout, like on your shoulders, on your heads.
Yeah.
Was it every time you like hit a home run, they'd give you the monkey or something?
The monkey, or they throw you a shark. I mean, we had a blow up shark in Omaha.
Y'all really were just like kids having fun out there.
Oh, no doubt. I miss being with the guys and having a good time. I think the most out of all of it because we were a very close team. That group had played together for 3 and 4 years, and the sad thing is you probably won't have that no more with the NIL stuff.
I was going to ask you, do you think it's like the relational side of things, just the having fun? Do you think that's shifted since the NIL and all the pressure there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't win a national championship if we're not cruising on all cylinders.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I feel like to win, there's got to be some. I mean, outside of pure talent. I mean, you got these like Tennessee, the way they're playing this year. That ain't nothing but pure talent. I mean, you just got dog after dog after dog. But with us, I mean, you didn't have guys like that. We just playing together, knowing each other, trusting each other that we're going to each do a job. And so that's kind of. Yeah, that's changed a lot, and I don't think you're going to have. I hope I'm wrong. I pray I'm wrong because I want to go back to Omaha. But you're not going to. I don't feel like you're going to have that many underdog teams do what we did.
I agree. I agree. I hope you're wrong about it.
I didn't know until this week that you were the one who hit the home run in the championship game.
He's not from here.
It's all good. He's dreaming about West Virginia.
I am. I'm dreaming about
singing
those mountains.
Country roads, man.
But so tell me, it was like the home run that put you up, what, 4-1?
Yeah, it put us up 4-0.
Okay, 4-0.
Yeah, because before I hit the home run, we had scored 2 that same inning, and then the second baseman threw the ball away, made an error to give us the second run, and then I hit the home run.
So you had like the game winning, even though it wasn't like a walk-off type.
It was in the 6th. We wound up giving up 3 runs, so we won by 1. So yeah, it was.
So you were the hometown hero, technically.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, I guess you.
Bases were loaded in the night too, right? With 2 outs.
Yeah. No, it wasn't bases loaded. It was 2. There was 2 outs, but the runner on second.
Okay.
Yeah. Arizona.
I adopted the name Carolina Kid, which I am very proud of. That's pretty. I thought.
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah. People started calling me that. I thought it was pretty cool. So.
Man, like with a season like that too, being the underdog, hometown hero. Kids are going to naturally look up to you. And so in the culture today, we obviously talked about shifting with NIL and whatnot, but what would be your encouragement to these young guys, even young girls, like that, like they want to do what you did. They want to play the game they love. What would be like your biggest encouragement right now to young people?
My biggest encouragement would be surround yourself by people you want to aspire to be.
Yeah.
I thought about this today, actually. It's funny you asked me that. I don't become the baseball player I am today, or I was without, obviously my dad was a big influence on my life with, him coaching me and stuff. Outside of my dad, though, I got to play with Grant Holmes, who pitched last night for the Atlanta Braves, my best friend, and Jordan Gore, who's another good friend of mine who played in the AAA.
Yeah.
And so we grew up together, and in my opinion, 2 of the best players in Conway to come through Conway. I got to grow up with those guys, but I surrounded myself with them. I wanted to be better than those guys. I wanted to work my tail off to be as good or better than them.
Yeah.
And so if you want to be good, you got to surround yourself with good people.
Absolutely.
People who want good for you too. We all 3 of us, we always wanted each other to do good and pushed each other. And if you're surrounding yourself with negativity, you're gonna set yourself up for failure.
Yeah, it's that common saying. What is it like? If you, it's on the negative side. Like,
there's like a group of 5 people, you become the 6th or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Where it's just like, and it just goes to show the influences. So I know like college was one of the best times of your life, but we talked the other day about the minor league. And of course, like, you had fun doing it, but that was also a tough season for you because you were always like, go, go, go.
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit, man. Like what was that experience like for you?
Minors was probably one of the toughest times of my life. The thing about the minors is, and it probably wouldn't be that way if you came out of high school, I guess, because it would be all you'd know.
Yeah.
But going from playing at Coastal, winning a national championship, playing with a group of guys that like love each other and want you to do good, to then going into minors to where everybody's fighting for your position.
Yeah.
It's tough,
Right.
And I kind of got worn down with it really, really fast, just from going from what I went, went through at Coastal. But, you're on a bus like hours and hours and hours and hours
Mm-hmm.
during the week, and then you're in 100 hotels throughout the year. You're gone for 6 months out of the year. I mean, I am thankful beyond words that I got drafted and I got to play in the minors. And I don't want to discourage anybody. Like, you work your tail off and get there, because when you get there, I mean, it's an awesome experience that you're even there.
Mm.
But it's an absolute grind. You know, it's the grind of your life. So I mean, you get to the ball field at we used to get to the ball field at 10, wouldn't leave some nights till 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, or get done at 11 and get on a bus. And I remember one night we had a road trip from Washington to Canada. Washington State to Canada.
Wow.
Vancouver, Canada, which was 12 hours
On a bus.
and then got stuck at the border for like 4.5 hours
Oh,
at customs.
dude, it sounds like a blast.
Yeah. But I mean, you're doing it to chase a dream. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, baseball is a game, and you're chasing a dream in hopes to get an opportunity to, you know, to be a Grant Holmes and make it to the big leagues. I mean, ask him. He sat in the minors for 10 years and finally made it.
Wow. I never knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Do you think those tough seasons kind of like build your character, though?
I wouldn't trade it for nothing in the world. It's built me, you know, better as a man, you know, as a business owner.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, like, I mean, Lord willing, I don't have nothing bad happen, but baseball built me for tough days in the business world or in other, you know, life. Like, you think going and running 30 poles is gonna be harder than what I'm gonna do today at work. I mean, you know what I mean? So stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. Your husband and a father, correct? So I was talking to him about just like athletics and faith, because a lot of people want to chase the dream of being a professional athlete or just even collegiate. And I don't know, like, if your child's old enough to play sports yet or not.
No, she's one.
Gotcha.
We're pushing for golf, though. We'll see.
Golf?
There we go.
We'll
I
see
love
what
it.
happens.
Can she play softball? Because I love softball and I need someone to go
You don't know.
watch.
She might. She's already throwing a ball.
That's
So
awesome.
you don't ever know.
That's really
Well, we'll see her at Coastal.
That would
But
be sick.
but a lot of people struggle to like balance athletics and faith, because back home I played middle school football, and our games were on Sundays. So like it's like a constant push and pull in trying to balance your Christian walk with athletics. Did you like have a struggle with that in college, because you're playing on Sundays?
I struggled with it well, in college, especially in the minors. More so in the minors, because at least college here, you did have a little bit more free time to go to a church, or, you know, like that. Minor leagues, I was gone 6.5 months one time, so it was 6.5 months I didn't get to go to church or anything like that, and it's tough. I mean, it weighs on you a little bit, and you know, being on those buses all those times, I think back to doing that. And a lot of my regrets that I have is, you know, not taking that time and diving more into the Word, or influencing a lot of those guys to be Christians.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I regret that a lot. I kind of went with the flow during baseball. You know, didn't want to stir anything up, and I wish I would have took that time to do more of that.
What would you say to like parents who have kids maybe in like the middle school age range, who are going to have to start figuring out like how to balance it? I know you said your daughter isn't old enough yet, but there's going to come a time where they have to choose which route, and their kid might be talented and might have like a future if they continue to work for it, but also they want to be plugged into a local church. So what would your advice be?
Definitely, you got to set your boundaries for that. It is tough. I mean, I remember playing travel ball, and I mean, when you get into that time of the year, man, you're not going to church much, because you're playing every Saturday and Sunday. And as a father now, you know, I want my daughter to be plugged in to a church community and being surrounded with that. And so, you know, I feel like, hey, if you're not going to be able to go to Sunday morning service or whatever, be finding them a youth group to go on Wednesday nights, or something going on during the week. Don't just, you know, get out of the habit of going, because that, I feel like your kids, especially me getting older now, getting to be surrounded by you guys, you know, people who are God-fearing people and love the Lord, they hold you accountable. You know what I mean? And I want my daughter to be involved in that and being held accountable to her faith and being around good, godly people. So by doing that, you know, you're not going to be able to make it. Because I understand the ball life, man. I do. I understand you're not going to make it to church every Sunday because of that. There's tournaments, and if you want to be good, a lot of times you got to go travel and play in those things. But find somewhere to be on Wednesday nights that you can have your kids involved in that.
Absolutely. Now, like, kind of fast forward to where we are today, man. Coleton alluded to it. You're a husband, you're a father, you're also a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I know starting a business from scratch, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had to do that. So talk about that for a minute. Just like give me the rundown. Like what made you kind of decide to go the entrepreneur route? Has that like how's that going? But also like what's some encouragement? Because there's honestly, I think nowadays the Gen Z, like the millennial, a lot of them are aspiring to do their own thing.
Yeah,
they're wanting to create something. They want to create something that's going to change the world. And you're doing like you came back home. You're making an impact through the business, and but you're also like if I were to ask you who you were, I would say that you're probably your greatest attributes are not maybe like that you were this guy at Coastal Carolina, but that you're a husband, you're a father, and you're providing for that. So talk about that for a second.
I appreciate you saying that. My dad, he's always owned his own business, and my great granddaddy, who I'm named after, GK the first, he owned his own business. He was both of them are contractors, and I wanted to kind of follow in their footsteps with that. And not only with that, I mean, I really like knowing that I own my own time too, to be there for my family. Like a few years, if Andy's got ball games or whatever, I wanted to be able to say, hey, I'm going to see my little girl do this, or I'm going to do that. And to the faith part of it, yes, it does take a really big faith to do something like that. And my wife is more on the nervous side of things, and I think that's really good. It mellows. I'm a kind of a go person, and she's kind of like, let's slow down a little bit. And so you got to have that.
Balances you out.
It balances me out.
Yeah.
And when I started this business, I went to the bank and I got a loan, but I never had a doubt that I was going to fail because I put my faith in God. Because if it's meant to be, He's going to make a way for it. If it's not, it fails, He's going to have me something else to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like that, yeah.
And so that's kind of how I've always had my mindset. Like if it's going to work out, it's to glorify Him, and it's going to work out.
Wow.
And if it's not, it'll fail.
Sovereignty.
He'll find me something else to do.
I love that.
And so, that's another reason I was kind of fine with baseball ending. At the time I was kind of depressed about it. I hated it, but looking back at it now, I love what I do now. I love owning my own business. I actually never thought that I would love pressure washing in a million years. You think I'd tell you I was going to own a pressure washing business?
Right.
But I found something I really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
I miss playing ball, but God had other doors that He wanted to open up.
Yeah.
And so once I accepted that, I was able to find happiness in something else.
Is pressure washing like relaxing to you? Because I look at it, I'm like,
It's like satisfying.
Yeah.
It can be. And then this time of year we get pollen, and then this is where like everybody wants it done yesterday.
Yeah.
And so then that's where it kind of gets a little stressed out. But I got my brother works with me, and he's been a godsend that I got him to help me, and he took a lot of stress off of me because for a while I was doing it by myself.
It's all you.
All I could do to keep up, and then opportunity come to where he was at a job, he didn't like it, and me and my brother have always been like that. So I said, well, come on, we'll take a chance, and we'll if we don't kill each other first, we'll we'll see where this goes. And it worked out. He's been working with me 4 years now, so.
And you've really done it all. Like you've been a college athlete, you've been in the minors, you own the business. We were talking before we started rolling about just like the idea of being like a disciple of Jesus, and you get to use your platform, even in the business, to glorify Christ. Like what is one way that like people go about their days, and a lot of people come to us and they're like, I'm not in full-time ministry, like, or I wait for the pastor I invite them to church and hope the pastor says something. But like, for just somebody going about their day in and day out life, what would be your encouragement to say, this is how you can implement Jesus into everything that you do?
Just strike up conversations about about your life and where you go to church, or ask somebody where you go to church.
Mm.
I think a lot of people, especially people moving down here, they get thrown off by like you jamming church in their face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you got to find a way to talk to people, and I've really tried to do better about this in the last year, especially having my little girl. Like that has really opened my eyes to a whole lot. Like
Right.
for a long time, I couldn't understand like how God loved us so much. Like how did He love us that much to die the way He did?
Yeah.
And then the moment my little girl come into the world, I understood a whole lot more. You know what I mean? And so I've really tried in the last year to do better about standing for my faith and talking about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's just striking up conversations with people and finding out, hey, where do you go to church? You know, this is where I go, and just inviting people, you know, to where I go, and so they can hear what I hear.
Impact of a simple conversation.
Just the impact of a simple conversation.
I love that.
I want to go backwards.
Okay.
Can I ask was there like a turning point for you from going from like baseball to becoming a business owner? Is there like a big moment that like you realized this wasn't the route, that you want to take anymore with
What do you
baseball?
mean?
Like was there was there an event, or how did you come to the decision that baseball was no longer like your thing?
For me, I did all I could do, and I knew that. I had a pretty good year the year before. I hit a good many home runs. And I had already talked to my dad. I hit a good many home runs and didn't get a whole lot of playing time, which a guy that was playing in front of me got a lot more money. And so they were, you know, it's a business. They were pushing him.
Right.
And so I already talked to my dad before I went to spring training, and I told him, I was like, if I'm going to go give it my all, and if it don't work out, I'm coming home. And so I went in and I killed the ball. I mean, it was the best spring training I had out of the 2 times I had went. And I think I was hitting like 450 or something.
Wow.
I mean, I was killing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't make a team. So that would mean I was going to have to stay in rookie ball until I did make it, until somebody got hurt. I didn't, but I had prayed about it before, and I was like, you know, if I don't make a team, I can go home and I'm going to get my life together. You know, I'll be ready for it. And so when I didn't make one, I was at peace with it. You know, when I went and looked at the list and I wasn't on there, I went to the head hitting coach at the time, and I asked him, I said, I know I couldn't have done any better. And he was like, no, you killed the ball. You did good. I said, well, why? And he's like, it's a business, man. We got more money than these guys.
Yeah.
You know, and at the end of the day, I was at peace with it, because I was like, you know, I know I'm a better hitter than that guy. I know I'm better, but I feel like God's got other plans for me.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I'm fine with that. You know, I can look back on my career at Coastal and be totally content. You know?
Were you married at this point?
I was gonna ask that.
No. Me and my wife started dating a year before we won the national championship. So we started dating
2015?
15. And so we dated then all through. We dated almost 8 years before we got married or something like that.
Wow.
What was it like in a relationship, but then being on the road for 6 months at a time?
So my father-in-law played college baseball, and so
She kind of understood.
she understood, and my wife was an athlete. She's a really good influence during that time for me, like, because I'm a homebody, if you can't tell. I went 10 minutes down the road from my house.
Yeah.
But you know, getting drafted by the Padres, and then they're on the other side of the world, and you know, I'm gone 6 months out of the year. That's hard. And so, you know, having somebody that understands and is there for me while I'm gone, especially my family too, but having a girlfriend at the time that, like, I know she's there for me, you know, that's big. That's really big.
That's awesome. I was always curious. I feel like we talked about it, but I never knew like that scenario. So when you came home, like, that was also a decision. You were like, I'm going to marry this girl.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, she's strong in her faith too. She grew up in church, thankfully a Baptist church too.
Yeah.
So we ain't got no arguments on that end.
Good deal.
But yeah, we both love Jesus, and I think that's, you know, in today's world, if you're looking for somebody, I feel like you need to find somebody with that in common.
Probably
you know,
the best
especially if
dating
you are a
advice you can
Christian and you know God, find somebody that you can have that in your household to build your kids up with.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How do you know she's the one?
How do I know that she's the one?
Yeah. When do you know?
So
You asking for advice?
No, this is for the people. This is welcome to the Battle Lungs podcast, where we're talking about relationships with GK Young.
Yeah.
Hey, it's funny you asked me that. I knew my wife was the one I was going to marry. First time she came to a game, and we weren't even. It's kind of weird. I don't know. And I tell her that all the time. She thinks I'm crazy, but we actually met in the SAT, and
Like the test?
huh?
Like the SAT test?
Yeah, and I tell anybody, I don't care. I'm a goofball. I copied her paper,
On the SAT?
and then realized that it was a different test.
Oh.
And I told her that, and that's what struck up the conversation. I was like, how you think you did? And she's like, well, you know the tests are different, right? And I was like,
So did she know you were cheating off of it?
no.
Oh, I thought she was like,
Well, it was only like the 50th time I took it. I was trying to get a certain score, and I was like every Saturday.
well, I don't
was
think you
there
got
taking it.
You probably didn't get that score at that time.
Oh,
right?
I bombed that one. But
Did they know?
no, but I told her, I was like, that's how we met. It's funny.
Dude, that's honestly like one of a kind though.
No, yeah.
And then at the game, you're like, I think I'm gonna marry that girl.
Well, I didn't think she would because I was at the time I was like, she probably thinks I'm stupid. You got to think somebody's stupid for copying the wrong test. I mean, I was just like, let's go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is. Did y'all both go to high school together?
No, she went to Ainer and I went to Conway.
Okay, gotcha. I knew you had gone to Conway, so you guys are both local. Then
Mm-hmm.
are you following that up, or is that
was
the?
good. No.
That was perfect.
She'll enjoy all of this.
Yeah.
She'll eat this up.
I want to like this is honestly the last question I have. We were talking on the phone the other day. You said, the loudest in the room isn't always the baddest.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by that, and what's like the encouragement there for somebody?
I have never been influenced by people who are loud. The attention's always got to be on them.
Yeah.
I've always kind of paid attention to people who were quiet, did things the right way, and did it that way. I've tried to be that way. Like I've never been like I've gotten asked to speak before, and I get petrified of speaking. It, like I'm great with you, like 3 people, 2 people. You get a bunch of people, and so I've just never been somebody who's influenced by like somebody who's real loud and needs attention on them.
You're right.
And I just have always felt like somebody who's quiet, mannered, and does things the right way. They've always been kind of like my influence.
Yeah, you even alluded to that. You said there's some guys like on the team that, you know, that you just realize like they didn't allow like cuss words or like bad things to come out of their mouth. You notice they pray even when other people weren't and stuff. Like they just did the small things. And you're a disciplined guy. You do the ice baths every morning. You work out. How crucial is discipline for a person, you think?
Discipline came for me going to college, you know, and I've took that into my everyday life now, especially more so in the last year having my little girl. I want to be healthier for her and my family and be able to provide and do all those things. And I think you got to have a routine. You got to, you know, if you want to be the best at something, you've got to hang out with the best and learn from the best, but you got to, you know, implement a routine and discipline of things to be the best, you know? And like you said, like doing ice bath might be a corny thing, but now it's like in my head to like, okay, that's my routine.
Yeah, you're wired now.
I'm wired that way to do that every single day. My diet and everything else to be healthy. And, you know, for kids wanting to be the best at something, I feel like truly you've got to hang out with the best, work around the best, and get your mentality that way to be wired to do. I don't care what you say. I'm doing it the way that Freddie Freeman does it, or somebody like those guys do it that way. There's a reason they're the best at what they do, you know. And
absolutely,
I was fortunate enough to, like I said, I got to play with some of the best.
Yeah.
And like I've always been the kind of person, like I DH'd my whole time I was at Coastal, but during that time I'd sit there and I'd watch what Zach did. I'd watch what Connor did, the guys that I played with that were really good, and I watched their routines and figured out like they do this and they're very good at it, so why don't I try it?
right?
You know what I mean? So
Isn't routines one of your like favorite words?
Rhythm.
Rhythm. Well,
rhythm.
Yeah,
Same-
it's same thing.
thing.
Though.
Same
Like
thing. It's a smoother way to say it, though.
Yeah, the word's thrown around a lot, especially in Christian circles, like rhythms, creating rhythms in your life, healthy rhythms. But I do love it. It's just it's moving from like the talking about it to actually implementing it.
Yeah.
Was that a hard thing to do, or you just you're kind of you're a go getter is what I've learned about you, and so like you kind of just jump all in. Is that
I'm not like I'm that way. If I want to do something, I'm doing. My wife was telling me that the other day because now I've started doing CrossFit like 3 or 4 months ago, and And then before it was golf, and I was all in on that. But now I'm like, since I want to better myself, I'm doing CrossFit.
One of my best
You don't
friends is like
ever
you.
just like chill. You just, and I'm like, I can't help it. That's the way I'm wired.
When you find something, you're bought in.
I'm bought into it. Yeah,
That
I
is-
will. I'll be
would
your
you-
best salesman if you.
I believe that.
If I believe in it.
So would you tell somebody like CrossFit over weightlifting any day?
No, I wouldn't personally. You do whatever is going to motivate you. You know,
Yeah.
if you're motivated to go to the gym and do it that way,
Mm.
that's one thing. If you want to go do handstand push-ups and do backflips and do crazy mess, then yeah, you come do CrossFit with us. I've always liked being different, man.
Yeah.
I've always liked to do stuff a different way, and CrossFit works for me. I like to eat a lot of food. I'm a foodie, and that's really the only thing I can go do that I'm gonna burn enough calories.
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
I love it. Hey, I
Well,
love it.
I'm a foodie too, but I just automatically burn the
Metabolism
calories.
is just
so-
So you're one of the
moving,
blessed.
bro. Yeah.
I wouldn't know what it's like to have to overeat to lose weight. You know what I
Oh,
mean? So,
yeah. Trust
I
me.
think that's like the blessing in disguise is when I'm 40, hopefully I don't have to be in the gym much.
Yeah. Yeah. You can look at it that way.
Yes.
So, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I like the when you're talking about like surrounding yourself with better people and things like that. I think that's a really good point in today's culture, and I think it's hard for a lot of people to figure out who the people are that they should be surrounding
I agree
themselves with.
that.
And I had a family member, so I'm like a very like business oriented mind too, very like administrative type. And I always had a family member tell me, you should always be the dumbest in the room. And
Well, that kind of goes back
Yeah.
to being the quietest
Right.
in the room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
so, surface level, it sounds funny, but I think it's true. It's like surrounding yourself with the smarter people, the better people, so that you can learn from them. Was there ever a time that you had to like cut people out? And how did you do that? If so,
Yeah, that's funny you said that too. Yeah, there was. Because with my personality, I used to always love to hang out with the funny, stupid acting people. I mean, not that I'm calling them stupid, but just that way that they
I
are.
totally understand what
And
you're saying.
I was very blessed to commit to Coastal my sophomore year. Still a very like rambunctious, crazy
You're a
wild
high
time
schooler,
of my
man.
life.
Yeah.
Just got my driver's license and all this. And I just remember I actually was talking about this week with somebody.
Me.
And
Yeah.
telling you, like I had to cut certain people out of my life that were, I knew, like I was staying out all night. I had certain friends that I knew that I could go stay with them because their parents didn't really care, and I'd stay out all night and we'd go out and do whatever we wanted to. And then I commit to Coastal, and it hit me like I had a buddy have an accident, and that kind of is what woke me up. And I was like, I've got an opportunity here that many people don't get, especially in this town, and I want to take advantage of it. And so more so transition to be around people that I aspire to be like.
Yeah. Absolutely. Sometimes too, like people don't know how to look for them, but honestly, like it's just open your eyes. Like, man, like the people around me, like you can kind of see the direction they're going.
100%. We were talking about this a minute ago. It's like I wish I knew then what I know now, kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And I really think I think you do know then. You just need to slow down long enough to think about what your goals are in life and what you want to do. Because at some point you're gonna be grown. You're gonna be a grown man like that. Even in high school, it flies by so quick. And like I blink, and I feel like I was just in high school. Now I'm 30 years old with a little girl. I think if you slow down long enough and think about what you want to do, it'll put in perspective of who you really should be around. Because you are who you hang around at the end of the day. I mean, and I hate to even say this, but back even when playing baseball, the people I hung around with, I'd catch myself cussing.
Yeah.
I'd start talking like them, and then I'd come home, and my mom's like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "What did I say?" You know what I mean? Because you've been around.
It's just a natural.
You've been around that I was around that ball talk for 6 months. I mean, you really become accustomed to what you are with.
Yeah, you become a product of your environment.
Especially now in the business world, like even in the business world, I want to hang out with successful business people, take advice from them, and how they act. And it all goes hand in hand. It really does.
Absolutely. Yeah, he would like Ben.
yes. I was just thinking I have to cut you out of my life. You're a bad influence.
Well,
I'm never going to be successful
sorry for you.
unless we're friends.
Anything else you want to add?
No, that was good.
No. Yeah.
I'm thankful y'all had me on, guys.
Absolutely, brother. Is there how can people find if they're like, man, like I live in Conway, man, I need some work done, pressure washing.
A lot of y'all need it done too. So call them, because I'm sick and tired of seeing dirty houses.
It's called, what is the business called?
It's Coastal Power Washing. They can go to my Facebook page at GK Young, and they can message me on there.
Absolutely. And he's an athlete, and he will respond to you if it's business oriented.
I respond like that.
Yeah, he's that kind of athlete, that kind of guy. So, man, seriously, appreciate you having you on. You go ahead and end it because I don't want to.
Thanks for tuning into another episode of the Battle Belongs podcast. Next week, we're talking about relationship breakups. Today, we talked about how to get into one. Next week, we're talking about how to get out of
That's why
one.
you included it. So,
See you next week.